First of all, I want to thank everybody for this last minute meeting. A lot has been going on with everybody, and I have promised my co-commissioners that we are not going to be on here long, and we definitely are not going to make you repeat tomorrow what you told us tonight. So hopefully we can cover some things tonight, and it'll be brand new for us tomorrow that we'll be, sitting and listening again. Russell brought up the point of the agenda, and I definitely did not get back with Blaine after last week. And so we're going to wing it a little bit, but I do want to say I want to be as I don't want to waste anybody's time. So I did talk to County Manager Williams right before this call, and I think tonight will be about the contract and the scope of the contract, and not necessarily what you've been doing on the ground. Is that okay? And I really wish that even for tomorrow, Manager Blaine, that all of the commissioners get a copy of the contract for further deliberation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. Let me, Mike and Russell, have any questions? Any dissenting folks, Russell?
I just saw the contract in my email box, so I hadn't had a chance to read it in preparation of the meeting.
And I think that Blaine is going to share it on the screen. And again, we're not going to go through the daily work of the neighborhood leaders because that would be a duplication. So let's look at the contract as Blaine goes through it. And if things pop up, we can address it as it pops up. And if nothing pops up now, according to Manager Blaine, we still will have enough time to relook at this contract. Is that correct, Manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, we're ready to roll whenever you are. Welcome, Terrace and Tim. I'm sorry. Thank you.
She said hello. I responded, How are you doing?
Okay. All right, Manager Blaine, I'm going to put it in your hands right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So the sole purpose of tonight's meeting is to talk about the neighborhood leaders' scope of services. Their contract is an annual one, and it ends in December 31st of 2021. So the Mayor and Commission would need to take action to extend that. We're targeting the December 7th voting meeting, so that's a month out. And we thought it'd be instructive for the work session tomorrow to have the neighborhood leaders, Terrace and Tim, present on the neighborhood leaders program about what's been going on, just as context for the rest of the commission as they consider reapproving perhaps this contract at the next voting meeting. Prosperity Committee would be the most logical one to maybe weigh in on the scope of services. And Russell, it's the contract's longer, of course, with a lot of language, but it's really only two pages worth. And I was prepared to briefly go through that with y'all. And any comments tonight that you have or direct questions you have for us or Terrace or Tim, we can do that. We can talk. You can bring things up tomorrow that you learned today. We kind of wanted to see how today went. If there's a couple of things y'all hone in on tonight, like, hey, we want to learn more about this, or hey, we want to change those things, we can call another one of these meetings next week or two and bake that into the agenda item, perhaps the proposed contract to the rest of the commission. So if y'all are good with that, I'll share my screen. And this is basically the second attachment that I shared is the scope of services piece. And this was developed, of course, back in December 2019 the mayor and commission approved this, I think Commissioners Hamby and Thornton, y'all had directed that we, try and create a neighborhood leaders program, and we talked to communities and schools, and they gave us a scope of services, and this was folded into a agenda item and contract and approved. And it speaks to, just very quickly, the project director, which is Terrace, and the 16 neighborhood leaders. And throughout this 2 pages here, it indicates what these folks should be working on. And really, right here, these 2 bullet points are the meat of what the scope of services is: group outreach, information sharing, creation of database listing presentations, individual case management support, and then what type of reporting they would do on that, engaging the residents in community building. And of course, this was in December of 2019. And this is one of those programs that we learn as we go and respond to the needs. I mean, these are 16 different zones, and they all have their unique needs. They went through a pandemic, and helped direct sources that way. And then I think, as you'll see tomorrow night, there's an emphasis on poverty, and helping not only the residents out of poverty, but even the neighborhood leaders themselves. And so I will not try and characterize Terrace for you and Tim, but that's basically what this 2-page scope of services, which is the meat of the contract, speaks to. So that's my 3 or 4 minute overview. But Chair, if it's appropriate, we could call on Terrace or Tim to kind of color in.
Actually, I was hoping you would send us the actual contract that Judd that they actually signed.
Well, the one that I sent you is the original contract, but I don't know if it's the executed version. But
I need to see the one. I need to see the one that and it might be a synopsis of this, or this may be a synopsis of that. But scroll down. Scroll down. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. See, when you get to the bottom, there's no signature on this one.
All right.
I want to see the one that is signed by us and I guess it might have been Tim. I have a copy of it. That's why I know it exists.
Okay.
This was the attachment to that signed contract.
Right.
So this, as Blaine described, is the scope of service, and it's referenced in the signed contract that has all the usual legal language.
Yeah, this was the original form. That has all the whereases, and I'm scrolling down fast, but it's got insurance provisions. I don't have the executed version, but I can get it tomorrow pretty quickly.
Well, if you could get that for tomorrow, I think that will. And plus, with this this summarized version, to put them both together, I think we'll see what we're working with.
And as Tim said, the scope is really Exhibit A, and I'm almost 1,000% sure that doesn't change at all with whether the unsigned version or the signed version. But I'm glad to do that.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And so since I have the floor right for a moment, and before we turn it over to Terrace and Tim, I know that COVID posed an unusual hardship, especially for a new project. And I'm wondering, we allocated all right, we allocated $30,000 per neighborhood leader. And the question that came up during COVID, was that inclusive of benefits or separate from benefits?
That was base salary, separate from benefits. So benefits are on top of that.
So it's 30,000 plus.
Correct. $30,000 salary and then health insurance and FICA, retirement.
And that's, so actually, what would that figure look like? 30, what would that look like?
I think it's a little over 40.
Okay.
Added it up.
Okay.
But plus, of course, computers and cell phone service and supplies and mileage, things like that.
Okay. And I think those are the numbers, the hard numbers I would like to see, if possible. I know you may not have it tonight, and you may not even have it tomorrow. But when we come back to vote on that, I would like to see what that dollar itemized amount is. Okay. My next question is, in that 30,000, and especially during COVID, were there any benefits for sick leave or COVID leave or bonuses for COVID work, doing that work for the neighborhood leaders?
And
I know you had, and I asked that question because I know you had several leaders that actually contacted COVID.
So, yes, they have paid medical leave as well as annual leave. And we did pay them year-end bonuses last December, and then we gave them bonuses for getting vaccinated.
Okay. And my last question, this is a 40,000 plus package, salary, benefits, and all the other stuff you're going to let us know. Has there been any discussion, and I'm assuming that you're going to present to us the great work the leaders are doing, and I don't expect anything different. Is there an advancement scale for your neighborhood leaders? Are we looking at raises or income or cost of living raises, or are they or has there been any conversation? Because it seems to me, if we're going to continue this relationship, we should also be looking at how folk are also being compensated. So I don't want to have a neighborhood leader program that's doing a great job and they're still at $30,000 when none of us would, expect that.
We have not had that conversation with the manager or any of the commissioners, but I think it would be appropriate and certainly helpful to them. $30,000 as nonprofits in Athens go for that kind of work is decent, and it's what we asked y'all for in terms of what was then defined as a living wage, but it's on the low end of living wage, and I would love for us to be able to pay raises. And I should add, we did actually, we have a new partnership with DFACS that in return for the work they're doing with SNAP, DFACS has given the neighborhood leaders the ability to not only assist applicants for SNAP and other DFACS benefits, but also to actually go in and see when they're up for, they're not case managing the SNAP cases for DFACS, but they can literally go into the file and see when paperwork is due and that kind of thing. This is brand new, just started in October, but they gave us funding that allowed us to.
They gave you what?
They gave us funds for that.
Okay.
And because they were using federal dollars, because the dollars y'all pay for their salaries are local, they were able to do that because the local dollars were considered match for their hours they spend on SNAP.
And at the beginning of this process, we talked about leaders in the individual school zones. And I know it hasn't worked, and I know y'all transitioned and changed. How is that working now? All of your neighborhood leaders are not living in the zones that they work in. Matter of fact, my neighborhood leader is Patrick Howard. I guess he lives off of Tallahassee. He's probably if everybody had a neighborhood leader like Patrick, I think I would, I think I'd feel really good, you know. And there's some other great neighborhood leaders, but I know they're not living. So when we're redoing this contract, and we're looking at this, is that going to be a change or a notation that neighborhood leaders do not have to live in the districts they work in?
Well, our
I'm sure we
preference
can make
was that they
those
live in the
changes.
zone, but
Yeah.
we haven't required that.
Exactly.
And there were some zones where we did not have any strong applicants, and we had more than one strong applicant from other zones. And then we had Spanish areas with high Spanish-speaking population with no Spanish-speaker applicants from that zone. So we made it exceptions.
So again, when we're moving forward for this next year, are those some of the changes that we can expect to see, that requirement is going to be modified?
Yes, if that requirement is in the scope of service, and I didn't remember it being actually a requirement, even though that was our
Oh, it was a requirement because we had a big conversation at the first meeting. Now, whether it's in writing or not, I don't know, but we had a huge conversation about that. So as long as you know where I'm coming from, far, I don't think, and the only other thing I would like for you guys to look at, I know every district has a poverty pot, a poverty, but are you feeling that there's one or more districts that need a lot more attention? Matter of fact, I know that you have some of your neighborhood leaders that are working together. So can we get an explanation on that tomorrow or as we move forward for those areas that need more attention, I should say, needs more tender love and care? That may not have to be in writing, but we surely need to have it indicated when you're making those shifts.
Commissioner Thornton, I just want to respond to that. Well, actually, the first two things. The way the neighborhood leader model was set up, it was for the resident to be in the zone only because it assisted with relationships and, you're known in your area, but it's absolutely not necessary. So I'm certain, Tim, we can make those changes. It's helpful. But as it relates to two neighborhood leaders working in one zone, perhaps based on the trending need, we encourage cross-zone work because that is very helpful. But I don't know, as it relates to modifying the contract or the scope, I think we can state that cross-zone work is absolutely encouraged, but we also want to make sure the neighborhood leader is providing the service to his or her specific zone as well.
I guess, and I see it. I see it. I want to make sure my fellow commissioners see it. I want to make sure that the community see it. I think that this has the perception of being a model program.
Absolutely.
But they got to be paid, right?
Yes.
They cannot be doing everybody else's work. Absolutely. And not be compensated. They need to have some long-term plans for themselves.
Yes.
And so, I don't think the poor can lead the poor, so we need to be lifting everybody up. So those are my concerns. I know I have already practiced what I was going to say today. So I have just taken my opportunity and I will turn it over to either one of the commissioners that may want to say anything else.
I might add something to it, Ovita, just real briefly, if you don't mind, Chair. I guess what I'd be looking for tomorrow when we see the presentation is, this all started with an emphasis on the prosperity package started with an emphasis on poverty and how we're addressing that. So I guess in looking at the scope of work, it seems to me maybe now's a good time to transition in from moving tier 2 up to tier 1 responsibility, so that you're focusing on the individual from that standpoint, and go from there. But the other, and I'll listen for something like that in the presentation tomorrow and see how we can work that in. So moving tier 1 tier 2 to tier 1 as a priority, but also, and I know y'all send this stuff to Haley on the monthly basis, the monthly reporting, and maybe this is just on our end that maybe we can. And Haley, you may do this. I don't know. We get so many emails that it may get lost in wherever my emails go sometimes. So maybe just more of an update for the commission on how that's progressing. But it leads me to another thing that I don't know if this needs to be built into the contract, Manager Williams, or something, some sort of evaluation tool about how we are impacting poverty or impacting lives through this program. I think would be helpful, and I don't know what that tool would look like. I may have run across something that can help us with that. But I think I'm certainly fine. I think y'all are doing some good work. I'm certainly fine with continuing the work and continuing the contract. But I do think between now and when it comes up for review again, we do need to have some sort of evaluation tool in place to examine all that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Russell, you good?
I too think it'd be helpful to focus on some of the outcomes that the neighborhood leaders have achieved in the past year. Some stories about the typical work that they've done, but also I know we talked a lot when this program was created about how many SNAP benefits, for example, are not being taken advantage of in this community. So any sort of data we have regarding how many residents our neighborhood leaders have successfully enlisted into these programs that they weren't taking advantage of beforehand, that's something quantifiable maybe that could help tell the story about the work they've been doing.
Haley, this question is for you. I know the neighborhood leaders report to you on a regular basis, and not to belabor or make a heavier burden, but we always do this crunch stuff, and it always stresses me out with everybody. Is it possible we could at least get a report twice a year, like mid-year and then towards the end? So at least, I don't want to say quarterly because that's a lot of work quarterly, but at least more than the end of the year. And I think if something pops up, we can catch it, or if we have a question before us, because I always feel like I'm working under the gun when we're trying to get something done. But if we can get touch bases, now I don't know if that quarterly report comes from your office or you write it in, but somebody should be responsible for at least the committee, if not the whole body, getting a report. So we won't be under this little pressure thing like we are now, if this contract is supposed to continue. And I said I was going to do the last. Tim, are you also looking for other fundings that will strengthen this, or are you just depending on the government contribution? Are we looking for other dollars that will expand or enhance what you're doing?
Yes. Although I'll have to say that we could not possibly provide this staffing without the ACC Commission and government funding. But I mentioned the DPAC's support that we're getting for the SNAP outreach. We also worked out this thing with a national nonprofit called NAIR, N-A-E-I-R. I don't even remember what that stands for. But they get large donations from manufacturers and big national retailers. And then most of those materials we're able to get at for shipping costs. And there's a little administrative fee in annual membership. And we've got another support for some warehouse space, what has now become our neighborhood leaders hub. So it has warehouse space for these kids we're getting for the neighborhood leaders to get out. And it has a meeting area that's also the training area for in-person trainings. And all that's been made possible by donations. And in fact, when we early in the pandemic, someone came to us and asked to remain anonymous, but he said, I will make a donation. I will match donations of up to $10,000 if you do something on Facebook and ask for matching donations and to buy supplies, things that people need right here in this emergency we're in, like jackets, and, stocking caps, gloves, things like that. And we put it out there and got, for his $10,000, up to $10,000 match, we had over $12,500 in donations. And then he said, well, I told you that I would, or you tell those people that their donations will be matched, so I'll match the whole amount. So we had over $25,000. And that's what's covered all that shipping and, or a lot of that shipping and supplies from the national.
I would love to see that in writing, even if you don't have the person, the secret person. Now, Blaine, I'm gonna ask you Blaine. I'm sorry, County Manager Williams. We are also under the prosperity package. We brought on 2 grant writers. There are a lot of grants out there for specific issues, and one of the things I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Terrace, some of your neighborhood leaders are working in areas of specialty, like homelessness or domestic violence. Are we able to help Blaine bring money into a specific area? Have we even thought about grant writing? I know Terrace and Tim are probably too busy to be writing for grants, but is there do you see an opportunity, Manager Blaine, on how the grant writers can help supplement some of the programs with the neighborhood leaders, specifically in the areas that have areas of specialty?
Well, I think that's a great idea. Now, in practicality, this is a third party, the neighborhood leaders. So either the grant is given to the neighborhood leaders for their incorporation, reporting, compliance, accountability, or we hold it. And the neighborhood leaders aren't technically employees of the government. So I don't want to throw any. I think there's opportunity to find things that can for us to bring money for these areas that they identify in certain neighborhoods, but we'd have to be very clear about who's the recipient of the grant.
Well, I'm a thinker out of the box, and I don't think that when you deal with poverty, there's not no dollar amount on poverty, period. And we need to find whatever resources and build these relationships and break down some of these barriers to really be effective. With that, I'm good. I know there's been some rumors that I probably didn't support the neighborhood leaders. I support the neighborhood leaders 100%. I think the clarity will help all of us do a better job. And I do think Manager Blaine help finding resources, because no matter how many donations you get from NAIR, and I remember NAIR back in the 80s, so I'm very familiar with NAIR. There also needs to be dollars. I would like to see dollars for neighborhood leaders who want to go back to school. I want to see dollars for neighborhood leaders who need a down payment for a house. I need to see dollars for neighborhood leaders that want to buy a car. That's when you know you're lifting up people. And I know some of that stuff has happened. So I hope tomorrow when you make your presentation that you will share where some of the neighborhood leaders have also grown at. So with that, I promise that's my last comment. Go for
I can
it.
just make a quick comment. You mentioned wanting us to meet with you more often. We would love to do that. We would love to share what we're doing, but also get your input like this more frequently. And I know that happens one-on-one with individual commissioners, but the committee or the commission as a whole would love the opportunity to present.
Well, I know,
not just in the crunch.
Yeah, if we're talking on a regular basis, we won't be in this crunch again. And Yeah, I think that should be that should just be our mantra, that we're going to all try to work more closely together um the upcoming year. Thank you.
Well, as far as process, and then Terrace and Tim, if it's appropriate, hear from y'all about what you think's working well, or maybe some changes that you think might be worth making. I know one from a formatting change, we might consider making the contract term run concurrent with the fiscal year, like many of our other ones do. And I see Mike shaking his head. So you could either do a 6-month extension or an 18-month extension, either way. But process-wise, I would think that if any changes to the existing contract, if they were, formally recommended by this committee, we can incorporate that in the contract and write the agenda report and have that come to the mayor and commission on December the 7th. So I heard some suggestions today from Mike and Ovita, Russell. And, if y'all want to, we've taken some notes, but if you want to be clear about what your expectations are, you can just email us in the next day or so. And then hearing from Terrace and Tim beyond the getting concurrent with the fiscal year, any potential opportunities or changes or things that you're doing slightly differently that are different from the original scope.
I'd like to respond, and I'm going to share on it briefly tomorrow. Is just being able to do the work in a holistic approach, using a framework. And so we've been, I'm pretty happy with the fact that we do have a framework whereby we're able to address poverty, because as Commissioner Thornton say, there's more to poverty than, it is dollars, but there's a whole lot more that comes with that. Also resources, and I'll share, as I share, I'll share it in the presentation on tomorrow as it relates to resources. But also, I'm really excited about the work that the neighborhood leaders are doing, but we also, just as our neighborhood leaders are serving their residents in their specific zones, some of their needs are pretty prevalent as well. And so I joke periodically, I'll state something to the fact that in that place, I feel like I'm the neighborhood leader to the neighborhood leader, because they're residents as well. They have needs as well. We all have needs. And sometimes the issues of poverty sadly bleeds right into the work. It bleeds into their situations as well. And so I'm happy about the framework and just the holistic approach, just to be able to kind of get under the dollar as it relates to poverty, understanding mental models, hidden rules, just the way we think, all of that, and the framework does expose us to that. And so pretty excited about it. That as it relates to change, that would be the thing I would have to share here, just being able and doing the work, providing the direct service to the resident, but also understanding the position neighborhood leader to be a position, i.e. a job, a professional job, having expectations there. And so it's been a beautiful opening of a butterfly, I guess, a beautiful opening of a flower, but a lot is exposed, a lot, we understand a lot. And again, as the Commissioner Thornton stated, there's a lot. We also realize there are other needs there too. And so I said a whole lot. I traveled around the bypass to come back to that to just state it's been just a beautiful experience, and it takes time to get under that. It takes time, relationships have to be established. And so, and that's not just the neighborhood leader's relationship with their resident. That's also the relationship with the neighborhood leader, with me and Tim, you as commissioners, just all of us as we do this great work. But at the end, we are Athens. We're getting it done.
Anybody else?
Just want to say thank you. I mean, y'all had the vision of utilizing neighborhood leaders to help with your whole prosperity package, and that came from y'all, and it's been awesome. And I was optimistic about it. It's been better than I expected, frankly, with the group of neighborhood leaders we have, and especially with Terrence's leadership. And as somebody mentioned earlier, nobody expected a pandemic right as the program was really getting started. But I think I know they were a key part of our community's response to the pandemic. And that got added on to what we expected them to be doing. And because they had built, because many of them had already built relationships, and they were building relationships, and they really were of the community, even if they didn't live in the zone that they were serving. They were credible with some people that might not listen to others. And so I think the COVID response was, for our community, was stronger thanks to them. And really thanks to y'all. I remember Russell Edwards raising the issue of COVID before just about anybody. But anyway, thank you.
The only last thing, Manager Blaine, there was a survey. Do you have the summary of the survey that the neighborhood leaders did? Can you send that out to the summary of the survey to the commissioners?
Yes. Do you want me, Chair, to send that at the same time as the signed contract? I was going to send out a copy of the presentation for neighborhood leaders tonight and the mass grading piece. Do you want me to put the survey with that email, or send it out tomorrow with a signed neighborhood leader contract?
Send it all out together, please. What are you sending tomorrow? What are you sending tomorrow?
You wanted to sign the executed copy of the neighborhood leader contract. I got to get that from Jean tomorrow, but tonight I really need to send those presentations out so y'all got them at least 24 hours.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You can send the survey whenever you send the contract.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
And Terrace and Tim, if we have questions later that we have not brought up to now, is it okay to shoot you an email and try to get a response, like as soon as we could?
Between now and tomorrow,
and probably not. It might not be not. I think I'm probably the only commissioner that stays in regular contact with y'all, but I think that's an opportunity for all the commissioners.
Oh, of course.
Yes, certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Hanley, we're going to try to get a report every twice a year.
We would appreciate that opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Guess what? It is 5:38. If we have a motion to go, I'll take it.
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Manager Blaine. I'm
sorry, Mike, to cut you off. I just want to recap and make sure that we're all on the same page. So, I'll send out the executed contract and the neighborhood leader survey to the entire commission tomorrow. Terrace and Tim will present on the work they've been doing this year, which includes, Mike, some of their philosophy towards poverty and how they're incorporating that into their programming. The commissioners, will email us a few bullet points on changes that you'd like to see in the contract, scope of services, the next day or so. We could come back Thursday afternoon if you wanted to ratify or have y'all bless any changes to the scope of services. We really wanted to see where the concerns lie tonight, as our next steps. It doesn't seem like there's a wholesale recasting of the scope, maybe some fine tuning. And if you wanted to, we could get together as soon as Thursday afternoon, same time, for y'all to say, well, staff would work with Terrace and Tim, and we would send y'all sort of a summary of those changes, and then you could bless that. Then the staff could bake that into the proposed contract changes agenda item, and that would go out on time this Friday afternoon with the packet. So I'll just suggest that as a possible path.
Did you suggest a meeting on Thursday?
Yeah, no, I can't do that on Thursday.
I trust y'all. Can we get it Thursday and just all of the ones that are, we can get you something back, okay?
We'll just need, y'all to officially recommend it as a committee at some point, just like our other committee work.
So you're trying to get this recommendation by when?
Well, I mean, we can get it. We can just go title only and meet sometime next week if y'all want.
We'll do that. I know people don't like title only though. I said that real quick. What do you think, Russell and Mike?
I think we've had a good discussion here tonight, Chair, and I think if they just want to go ahead and put whatever they need to in the agenda report, if we need any changes, we can do it between the agenda report and the voting session.
Will that work for you, Russell?
That's fine.
Manager Williams, will that work for your office?
Well, we don't typically have a subcommittee of the commission negotiating contracts. At the very least, I'd like y'all to formally adopt like the changes that you want made to the contract, so we can say to the commission, this is coming from a subgroup of your peers to say, this is what you'd like to see in it. So,
well, then we'll go back to the title only. Okay.
All right. And it won't be a long meeting, and we can send everything via email, and then when we come together, we'll briefly explain for the benefit of the public what the changes are. Y'all make a vote. Y'all make a vote, and we'll be done.
Okay. Well, what we'll do then is what you said, Manager Williams, and everybody got their assignment, and Mike had the leading role on the next step. Call that motion.
Oh, make a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion and second that we'll adjourn. Thank y'all for all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank y'all. I hope this was helpful and not a waste of your time, but thank you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.